I'm here with Joe Green. I've grabbed you for a chat about your software company, Nation Builder. Now, you were talking to the Irish government earlier this week. What was that about?
Well, Nation Builder is software for community organizing, so for running an entire political campaign. Does the website, does the database, all the communications, canvassing, phone banking, email, text, and we're able to do that starting about $40 or $50 a month. So trying to make it very affordable for any campaign. And so I've been meeting with all the different Irish political parties, a number of elected officials. It's been fascinating. I mean, I'm kind of a political geek, and I get to travel the world to talk to politicians and help them better connect with voters.
What did you make of our Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in Labour and the paraphernalia that goes along with that?
It's interesting. I mean, it's different, right? You don't have just the classic left-right, Labour Conservative split like you've got in the UK, for example, or in the United States. Clearly, there's a lot of history. I was reading up on, well, this, Fine Gael came from Michael Collins, and Fianna Fáil came from Eamon de Valera, if I understand correctly. But what I love about it is it's clearly a very grassroots-focused political system. Like, people spend a lot of time knocking on doors, and you've got relatively small districts compared to the United States. The other thing that I really like is that in the U.S. we spend so much money in politics, and it has this really huge influence. I mean, this election will spend probably about $3 billion in the United States, whereas the entire United Kingdom political system spend maybe 20 million pounds during an entire election, and here it's obviously even smaller than that. And I think it's good because it means that you don't have the sort of influence of money. It's really about politicians talking to voters.
And people's beliefs. Now, you started off your career in Facebook, is that right? Or with Mark Zuckerberg, you're closely allied to him at the beginning?
Yeah, we were roommates in college, and I worked a bit on Facebook, and then went off to work for John Kerry's presidential campaign. And then I started a company called Causes, which is one of the original Facebook applications, which helps people to raise money for charity. And now doing Nation Builder, which is about empowering political campaigns, nonprofits, small businesses to organize people.
Do you find the Dublin Web Summit a good forum for you to be at for your type of business? Is it one of the leading ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dublin Web Summit has become sort of the leading tech conference in Europe. And for us, we've started to, actually, one of our first customers, totally accidentally, was the Scottish National Party, which we'd never even heard of. And they called us out of the blue. We hadn't even launched yet. We had one alpha customer, and they called us and said that they had heard about us, and we're like, where the heck did you hear about us? And that they needed us, and they used us in 2 months. They started using us 2 months later. They had their election. They went from 15 points down in the polls to winning the first majority in the history of the Scottish Parliament. It was a huge upset. And then that's how we ended up having the British Labour Party use us, because they were the opponents of the Scottish National Party. And then Glasgow Labour used us, and they did really, really well. And then Ken Livingstone started using us, and now the Bristol Mayor's campaign. And so, all sides of the British political system.
For you, looking at the American elections, who would you rather be in for your sector and growth of the tech sector? Kind of ethics aside or personal beliefs aside.
I think I'm not sure, honestly, how much influence the president has on the tech sector. I think that, the things that are important for the tech sector are, in the U.S., are immigration. We have to get the most, we're very fortunate that the most talented people in the world want to come to the United States. And to me, it's kind of crazy if we push them away, especially since we're all immigrants in the end, including, about 15% of us having come from the Emerald Isle. And that's important. Education is really important. My father's a professor, so much of the technological innovation has been funded by the government in the form of research grants, and so that's really important. And continue to invest in infrastructure. We have one of the greatest advantages the United States has is our legal system, which is really good for running a business. It's very easy to start a business, and so I think those are the things that really matters. And frankly, the president doesn't have a whole lot of control over those things. I mean, I think both candidates are in favor of more high-skill immigration, but they haven't been able to get it through Congress. One of the things that's funny coming over here to a parliamentary system, in the U.S., once you're elected president, it's still a lot of work to actually get your stuff through Congress. Here, if you win, you win. Maybe you have to govern in coalition like the current government, but if you win, you control Parliament, so you can sort of do whatever you want.
So yeah, it's much more. It's not as cut and dried as we think it is in the States.
Yeah.
Well, listen, have a really good Web Summit, and thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, cheers.